Welcome back, everyone. This is Crime and Prison, the channel where we dive deep into the most intriguing and shocking true crime stories from around the world. Today, we're uncovering the dramatic tale of Obinwanne Okeke, also known as Obi, whose name means a compassionate heart, a once prominent Nigerian businessman whose empire crumbled after he was arrested in a multi-million-dollar scam. How did a successful entrepreneur rise to fame and then fall from grace? Join us as we explore the twists and turns of his story, from fraudulent wire transfers to cybercrime, and his ultimate arrest by the FBI. This is a story of ambition, deception, and the price of getting caught in the web of crime. Let's get into it. In June 2016, Obinwanne Okeke, then 28, appeared on the cover of Forbes Africa magazine, smiling with dollar bills cascading around him and a lady like confetti. He had just secured a spot on the prestigious 30 Under 30 list of African entrepreneurs. The article described him as one of the many bright young things shaping the future of Africa. Born the 17th child in a polygamous family, Okeke's mother was the fourth wife. After his father's death when he was just 16, his mother, a teacher, worked multiple jobs to support him and his siblings through school. Growing up in Ukpor, a village in southeastern Nigeria, was challenging, and luxuries like sneakers or a Game Boy were rare, he shared in a 2018 BBC interview. However, Okeke persevered, pursuing his studies in South Africa and Australia, where he earned a master's degree in international relations and counterterrorism from Monash University. In 2013, he launched his business in Nigeria, which initially focused on low-cost housing and green homes. His business expanded into South Africa, Botswana, and Zambia, with plans for Uganda, and was valued at nearly $10 million. Okeke named his company Invictus, after the poem by William Ernest Henley, a work about resilience in adversity, famously a favorite of Nelson Mandela. Forbes Africa noted that Invictus operated across sectors such as construction, agriculture, oil and gas, telecoms, and real estate, with Okeke overseeing 28 full-time and 100 part-time employees across 9 companies. Unbeknownst to many, from around 2015 to 2019, he was part of a group which engaged in a conspiracy to conduct various computer-based frauds, including creating fake websites, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia said in a statement after he was sentenced. The 33-year-old earned a bachelor's degree in international relations from Monash University in South Africa and a master's degree in counterterrorism studies from Monash University in Australia. He shared that his passion for international relations stemmed from his interest in current affairs, while his postgraduate studies were inspired by the Boko Haram insurgency that began in northeastern Nigeria in 2009. Jack Dorsey recently appointed 3 Nigerians to the board of Bitcoin Trust. Okeke mentioned that he was among the first students to take the course when it was introduced at Monash University in 2012. Court records reveal that Okeke was recognized with the Most Outstanding Student Award in International Studies during his undergraduate studies at Monash University in South Africa. His lawyer, John Iwianoge, stated that Okeke also served as the social events coordinator on the Student Representative Council while pursuing his graduate studies at Monash University in Australia. In May 2017, just a year later, Invictus Group of Companies Limited, one of Obinwanne Okeke's 14 companies, 10 based in Nigeria, with additional ventures in Zambia, Botswana, and South Africa, was awarded Africa's Most Innovative Investment Company of the Year at the Africa Brand Congress and Africa Brand Leadership and Marketing Awards held in Lagos. Only 4 months later, in September 2017, Okeke was nominated as a finalist for the prestigious All Africa Business Leaders Award, ABLA, organized in partnership with Consumer News and Business Channel Africa, CNBC Africa, in the category of Young Business Leader of the Year for West Africa. In 2018, BBC's Veronique Edward interviewed Okeke live in London for her show Focus on Africa, which was streamed on the BBC Africa Facebook page on April 26, 2018. But Forbes wasn't done with him yet. 2 years after his 2016 feature, the magazine returned to spotlight Okeke once again, including him in its shortlist for the Forbes 100 Most Influential Young Africans of 2018. 1. Phishing attack on a UK-based company. In 2018, Mr. Okeke had used phishing emails to gain unauthorized access to the email account of the CFO of Unatrack Holding Limited, the UK export sales office for Mantrack Group, a subsidiary of American construction and mining equipment manufacturer Caterpillar Incorporated. It became the target of a sophisticated phishing scam. The company's chief financial officer, CFO, received what appeared to be a legitimate email requesting him to log into his Microsoft Office 365 account. This email was actually a phishing attempt that allowed Obi and his associates to gain unauthorized access to the CFO's account. 2. Fake invoices and wire transfers. After breaching the CFO's account, Obi's group set up a fake supplier profile and sent fraudulent invoices that looked legitimate. The finance team, unaware that these emails had been manipulated, transferred approximately $3 million to foreign bank accounts controlled by Obi and his associates. This was not the first company he targeted. Similar scams had already defrauded other organizations. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, arrested Obinwanne Okeke, the CEO of Invictus Group, for conspiracy to commit computer and wire fraud. According to Marshall Ord of the FBI, a dedicated team spent months investigating a series of fraudulent wire transfers totaling $12 million. This investigation stemmed from complaints about email compromise, leading to unauthorized wire transfers amounting to $11 million from Unatrack Holdings Limited. The FBI traced a phishing email containing a malicious web link, which had been received by Unatrack's chief financial officer. Obinwanne Okeke was identified as a key player in the scheme and was subsequently charged after the FBI took the following steps. Step 1. The FBI conducted open-source searches for the email address iconoclast1960@gmail.com, which was connected to the phishing email. Step 2. The email, which was used as the registrant for several internet domains, included slight misspellings of the official email addresses of potential partners of Unatrack. For instance, in the email for ASM International, the letter L was replaced with an I. This tactic, known as typo squatting, aims to deceive recipients into believing they are interacting with a legitimate email address. Such small changes are often difficult to notice, leading potential partners to trust the email's authenticity. In this case, the alteration allowed the perpetrators to impersonate real companies and intercept sensitive information, facilitating fraudulent transactions without raising immediate suspicion. Step 3. When the individual whose name was used to register www.cmines.com denied any knowledge of the email iconoclast1968@gmail.com and claimed he never registered an internet domain, the FBI took several investigative steps. Analysis of registration details. The FBI examined the registration details associated with www.cmines.com, including any digital traces or metadata, to verify the identity of the person who registered the domain. This would include examining IP addresses, timestamps, and any payment methods linked to the domain registration. Subpoenas and search warrants. The FBI likely obtained subpoenas or search warrants to gather more information from Internet service providers, domain registrars, or web hosting companies associated with the suspicious domains. These legal tools would enable the FBI to access logs, communication records, and any additional information tied to the email address iconoclast1968@gmail.com. Tracking digital footprints. Investigators used the digital footprint left by the email and domain registrations to trace any related activities. They analyzed login records, the devices used, and other connected accounts to establish a connection between the fraudulent email address and the true perpetrator. Interviews and cross-verification. The FBI conducted further interviews with the individual who claimed no involvement, cross-referencing their statements with the gathered evidence to determine if they were a victim of identity theft or if they had any indirect connection to the case. Through these investigative methods, the FBI aimed to uncover who was truly behind the fraudulent domains and the phishing scheme, even when false information was initially used to obscure the perpetrator's identity. Step 4. An FBI source linked the email address iconoclast1968@gmail.com to another email involved in a phishing scheme, establishing that it was used exclusively for collecting stolen login credentials. The FBI's investigation determined that iconoclast1968@gmail.com was specifically set up and used for malicious purposes, particularly to receive and manage stolen login information obtained through phishing. Phishing schemes involve deceiving individuals into providing sensitive information, such as usernames and passwords, often by using fake but convincing email communications or websites. The fact that the email was dedicated to storing compromised credentials suggests a deliberate and organized effort to gather sensitive data from unsuspecting victims, which could then be used for financial fraud or unauthorized access to private accounts. By identifying the exclusive purpose of the email, the FBI was able to tie it directly to illegal activities, reinforcing the case against those involved in the phishing operation. This kind of evidence is crucial in tracing the steps of the perpetrators and understanding the scope of the fraud. Before we continue, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the story so far. Now, let's get back into it. Thank you. Step 5. An FBI investigation connected iconoclast1968@gmail.com to a separate fraudulent wire transfer of $8,470 from Red Wing Shoe Company. The probe also uncovered hundreds of emails and chat messages with co-conspirators, along with over 600 stolen email account passwords, as well as copies of passports and driver's licenses used in identity theft scams. The investigation revealed that the email address iconoclast1968@gmail.com was linked to multiple fraud activities, including a wire transfer scam involving Red Wing Shoe Company. This was one instance among many in a broader pattern of fraud. During the probe, investigators found extensive communication between the perpetrators, involving emails and chat logs that highlighted the coordination between those involved in the schemes. Furthermore, the discovery of over 600 compromised email account passwords, along with stolen personal documents like passports and driver's licenses, pointed to a sophisticated identity theft operation. These stolen identities were likely used to facilitate various fraudulent activities, allowing the perpetrators to impersonate legitimate individuals or businesses, which helped them to carry out more scams undetected. This level of detail in the investigation was crucial in understanding the extent of the fraud and identifying the methods used by the suspects. Step 7. The FBI enlisted Google's assistance, revealing that obinwanne@gmail.com was the recovery email linked to iconoclast1960@gmail.com. Step 8. A popular Nigerian blog in Maryland revealed that the username, Invictus Obi, had listed obinwanne@gmail.com as a contact email. This email address was also linked to a Twitter account under the handle @InvictusObi. The email obinwanne@gmail.com served as a key identifier, connecting various online profiles and activities to the same individual. By associating this email with a Twitter account and other platforms, investigators were able to trace digital activities and social media presence back to Obinwanne Okeke, reinforcing evidence of his involvement. Step 9. The Twitter account @InvictusObi identified the user as Obinwanne Okeke, based in Abuja, Nigeria, and linked him to a company called Invictus Group. The Twitter bio also mentioned that he managed an Instagram account under the same name, @InvictusObi. The social media profiles were instrumental in confirming the suspect's identity. The consistent use of the name InvictusObi across multiple platforms, including Twitter and Instagram, along with references to his company, Invictus Group, provided clear evidence linking Obinwanne Okeke to his online and business activities. This made it easier for authorities to establish a digital footprint and solidify his involvement in fraudulent schemes. Step 10. First, Obinwanne Okeke traveled from London to Washington. The FBI was able to trace his movements by analyzing his digital footprint. In March 2016, Obi uploaded a photo of himself in a white bathrobe next to a wooden door with glass panes. The same image was found in emails sent from the fraudulent accounts. This confirmed that Obi was behind the schemes. Using information from his social media, particularly his Instagram page, the FBI cross-referenced the data with the IP session logs provided by Google. These logs revealed that the IP addresses used to access the fraudulent email account, iconoclast1968@gmail.com, closely matched the locations associated with Obinwanne Okeke, specifically tying them to his Invictus Obi persona. This information corroborated the FBI's investigation, confirming that Obinwanne Okeke was actively involved in the fraudulent activities. The consistency of the IP data and his social media locations provided a critical link between the suspect's online presence and his physical whereabouts. Step 11. A warrant was issued for Obinwanne Okeke's arrest. On August 6, 2019, as Obi was attempting to leave the United States for Nigeria, FBI agents arrested him at the airport. They had been monitoring his movements and anticipated his departure. The arrest was swift, with agents confronting him just as he was preparing to board his flight. He was detained without incident, and charges were formally brought against him based on the extensive digital and physical evidence collected. On October 9, 2019, a federal high court in Abuja, Nigeria, ordered the temporary forfeiture of N280 million, about $800,000, from his personal and corporate accounts to the Nigerian federal government to prevent its potential dissipation by his associates pending the outcome of his trial. Obi's arrest was a clear example of how digital forensics and careful surveillance can expose even the most sophisticated fraud schemes. Despite his attempts to cover his tracks using fake identities and false documents, the digital trail he left behind provided the FBI with everything they needed to apprehend him. During his arraignment, the magistrate overseeing the criminal case granted Obinwanne permission to see a dentist in custody after he complained of a toothache. This step in the legal process highlights that, even while in custody, the defendant's basic medical needs are addressed. The permission granted to Obinwanne to see a dentist is an example of the procedural rights that individuals have while detained. Despite the serious nature of his charges, which include wire fraud and conspiracy, his complaint of a toothache was treated as a legitimate concern. And that's the shocking story of Obinwanne Okeke, a man who seemed to have it all, but whose life took a devastating turn after his web of deceit unraveled. His arrest serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of fraud and the far-reaching consequences of cybercrime. Philippians chapter 4 verse 8 says, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things."